Students shy away from these probably more than anything else in their flute playing. Yep, my friends, we are finally taking on arpeggios, and today you're going to learn to understand them so that you're never again, hopefully, going to avoid them. An arpeggio is a pattern of notes that actually usually make up a chord. And what is a chord, you might ask? Well, think of a piano playing multiple notes at the same time. Usually those notes, when played simultaneously, sound kind of nice. Sometimes not, but usually they sound pretty nice. Well, that probably is some kind of a chord. It's several notes that are sounded at the same time that actually form their own kind of identity and unique sound. Honestly, any music you ever listen to other than maybe a solo melody line is going to have chords in it. It's the stuff that makes music sound really pretty. And although we can't technically play chords on the flute, although we can play something really cool called multiphonics, check this out. Where we technically have two pitches coming through, they don't sound particularly nice. Let's face it, nobody wants to listen to that. However, we can do something called arpeggios, which are basically the notes of a particular chord broken up into these beautiful patterns. In fact, the word arpeggio comes from the Italian word arpeggiare, which is literally to play on a harp, to kind of pluck those harp strings. If you can imagine that sound. So that is what an arpeggio is. And like our major scales, the arpeggio follows a very particular pattern, and that is the following. To play an arpeggio, we play the first, the third, and the fifth note of the scale. So let's go back to our numbers. Those numbers are important. That's right. We said that each number was just the position of that note in the scale. So the first note, the second note, the third note. So we said the arpeggio is the first, the third, and the fifth note of the scale. So all I really need to do here is I think, okay, what is my first note? In this case, it's F. What is my third note? There's 3. It's A. What is my fifth note? In this case, it's C. And then to kind of close off the arpeggio nicely, we play the first note again, or the eighth note. Remember, the first and the eighth note are the same note. So we have the first, the third, and the fifth, and then the eighth or the first note again. And this is what the arpeggio sounds like. Just like that. Again, all major arpeggios are going to sound really similar because they're the exact same pattern. Exactly. So if I play G, E, D, yes, they sound slightly different because they start on different notes, but at the core, they are the exact same pattern. Arpeggios really are pretty much that simple. But of course, we have different types of arpeggios. So for example, we have also got the minor arpeggio, which also is just the first, third, and the fifth note, but the minor scale works slightly differently, so we have a slightly different sounding arpeggio. And we have other arpeggios, for example, diminished and dominant seventh arpeggios or chords that we can play that work with slightly different patterns or work in slightly different ways. We're not going to get into those right away. Right now, we're just dealing with the basic major arpeggio. So, with that said and done, I told you it was simple. We're going to play your very first arpeggio, which is your F major arpeggio, and I've actually already told you what the notes are because we can see here, we've taken our scale, we've gone to our first, our third, and our fifth step of that scale, just like that, and we can play that arpeggio. So let's try this without playing. We're going to just do the fingers very calmly. So we've got F to A to C to F, and then coming down again to C to A to F. And this can sometimes be tricky. Once again, coming down that scale, really not easy. We're so used to thinking up the alphabet, not often thinking backwards in that alphabet. So this takes a bit of practice. And my best suggestion is that you do this with the fingers only. Don't add the complication of the tone and the flute and all of that. Just get the fingers right and then play your scale. So without further ado, let's go for it. So F, A, C, F, and then back down, C, A, F. Let's go for it. 2, 3, and. there it is. That is how the F major arpeggio works. As we go, we'll play more and more of these beautiful arpeggios, and you'll realize they're actually so much easier and simpler than you ever dreamed of. Happy practicing? And if you would like more of these teaching videos, I can only encourage you highly to go and check out our Let's Practice learning programs, where we not only teach you how to play all your scales and arpeggios and minors and, but actually walk you through studies, pieces, technical exercises, and new techniques that you need suited to your level. We guide you through every step of the way. In fact, I would say this is probably one of the most intensive flute learning programs, at least self-guided ones, on the internet right now. So if you want an intensive program that really leaves no stone unturned, I encourage you to go check out our Let's Practice Together learning programs.